I was, surrounded by these beautiful oceanic blacktip sharks, waiting for the main guests to arrive, feared bull shark. While waiting, I hoped I was right about sharks, and that everything I knew about them was true.
Many experts believe the bull shark is the most dangerous shark in the world. This is due to the fact that they are an aggressive predator.
If you swim at your own risk.
I was thinking about where this journey had brought me, and the amazing things I had learned along the way.
They still kill 2/3 of the sharks they catch, and they build an industry around trying to tell people that we're protecting you when really you're not. You're killing the ecosystem and you're killing a vital species. It's really beautiful.
Sharks are unfortunately perpetually portrayed as aggressive, mindless, man-eating creatures, which is so far from the actual truth. It goes beyond a misconception. Is a light way to put it. It's a complete misunderstanding.
Yeah, well, you cannot dive with sharks and not be changed.
We protect the things we love and have compassion for, and we neglect the animals that we don't have any compassion for.
Learning to film was a way for me to change the negative perception people have of sharks, by showing them their beauty and significance within the ecosystem. Suddenly, Kim spots a bull shark and calls me over. We start to swim towards the faint outline in the distance. And there it is, one of the most feared sharks in the world. It's majestic and stunningly graceful, and far from being aggressive, it was shy. At one point, we even scared it away with our bubbles. My whole life, the ocean has intrigued me. When I was 8 years old, I made the decision to pursue marine biology. I got involved in turtle conservation and spent many years exploring and learning about the wonders of the oceans. I've since been interested and inspired by sharks, and have been driven to stop the threats that face them. One thing that bothered me was the immense fear that people have of sharks, even amongst places such as the diving community. I wondered why, what drives this fear, and what can we do about it? This is my journey to understand the most misunderstood creature on Earth, and how their peril is linked to our survival as a species.
So we have people that just come into the dive center, they just see a dive center, they know nothing about sharks, just the man off the streets, and obviously they are still terrified of sharks. They think they're man-eating beasts.
We protect the things we love and have compassion for, and we neglect the animals that we don't have any compassion for. So the management is completely skewed. In terms of, we don't do it based on the biological vulnerability of a species like sharks are, based on the level of threats facing them. We just base it on what we like at the moment and what's popular.
Yeah. It is not just the fear of sharks, but it has become clear that there are some industries set up to benefit directly and indirectly from the fear of sharks. And very few of these benefit the shark population. In some countries, there are government organizations set up to police the public beaches by using shark nets and drum lines that kill most of the sharks caught up in them. they do so at great expense, initially to protect tourism. They accomplish this by thriving off of the fear of sharks that is disproportionate to the actual threat.
Well, obviously the shark nets don't even work that well. A lot of them get through anyways, and when they do get stuck, most of them die. So where's the common sense? And 5 people die a year worldwide from sharks, but...
Shark populations have declined by 90% over several decades due to human impact. One of the factors leading to a decline in shark populations is overfishing and bad fishing practices.
Ultimately, you need to understand that seafood is mostly wild animals and they're harvested at industrial scale, so they can't keep up with such demand. There's no accountability. You scrape the dead fish back, it sinks to the bottom, nobody accounts for that. The damage to the sea floor and the habitat down there is not accounted for either. Nobody goes down there and surveys what's going on. So out of sight, out of mind, nobody sees it. So it's just brushed under the carpet all the time, so to speak. And unfortunately, that makes management of fisheries very, very difficult. So it's just unmanaged. And what creates a situation where you've got human greed just allowed to completely flourish.
Presumably, the most shocking factor contributing to the decline in shark populations over recent years is the shark finning industry. This is driven by the massive industry surrounding the demand for shark fin soup. The scale of the industry and its implications was first understood after the late Rob Stewart created the expose documentary known as Sharkwater. The fact is that many shark species are endangered and are not adequately protected.
There is at least 25% of the shark species are listed somewhere between near threatened and endangered with extinction. So a lot of shark species are critically endangered. In South Africa, as a recreational fisherman, you can catch 10 sharks per day, 1 per species. So that's recklessly inefficient protection for large predators. In comparison, you can't kill 1 bottlenose dolphin ever. There's no amount of money you can pay to be able to kill a bottlenose dolphin, and that's because people want to see them swimming around and they want to protect them because they have compassion for them. Whereas sharks, on the other hand, they are critically important to the marine ecosystem, but nobody really wants to manage them and protect them.
Other factors influencing the drastic decline include pollution, mercury, chemicals, pesticides, and climate change.
Waves of garbage being pushed onto a beach in Santo Domingo. You can't even see the water through all of this. Hundreds of...
As an individual, there are many things I cannot change by myself. I hope that as more people learn about the problem, more people will start to take action. However, there are things that we can start doing now as individuals to make a difference when it comes to saving sharks. An important solution is education and raising awareness.
Educate yourself and trust and learn from people and go and experience it for yourself. We can sit here and tell you for hours and hours, but just go out there and experience and realize that there's a lot of people diving with sharks and they don't get eaten, so there are no problems.
If you want to simplify it, you need to have a level of compassion for something before you actually compel to try and protect it or conserve it. So people need to first start to understand sharks are important, then possibly develop a level of compassion for them before we see a broad-scale conservation efforts actually take off. So, yeah.
Well, definitely not mindless killers, that's for sure, and very, very intelligent. And we started noticing certain behaviours on the reef dives, and then that sort of behaviour was confirmed by watching the beta dives, watching them for longer, and they actually know things. I've seen them swim up to like a jellyfish, for example, and they'll stop just short of the jellyfish. They know not to eat, so they know their food, they know their natural food, and they're not just hunting the oceans looking for humans to eat. That's Jaws.
Yeah.
We need to understand a shark's importance as an apex predator.
That apex predators are absolutely vital to the functioning or healthy functioning of marine ecosystems. So sharks essentially are essential, and they've been around for millennia. So it's not like they are a recent species to appear. They have been shaping the oceans for hundreds of millions of years. So we definitely need them there.
It is vital that we make sustainable seafood choices.
The emphasis on the seafood consumer is so huge. They really have to be selective about what they're eating and understand, because there's no middleman, there's no manager who's going to stop that. A lot of people just sit back and go, well, the authorities are going to deal with it, but they can't, and they don't. Out of sight, out of mind, nobody sees it. Get away with anything out there. Be very, very careful about the seafood that you eat. Seafood consumption has a very, very significant impact through the harvesting of it, impact on the marine environment, and these huge amounts of bycatch, which basically degrade huge areas of ocean. So even if some of the more direct threats facing sharks were eliminated, you still have this collapse of marine ecosystems through overfishing and fishing pressures. You need to actually start farming fish, and not carnivorous fish like tuna and salmon. You need to farm herbivorous fish so that there's a sustainable, renewable fish species that you can have on the market. If you really have to make a choice at the moment, stay away from trawled anything that's bottom trawled. It's very destructive and wasteful, and look for farm solutions or farmed other products.
A huge part of education is getting people to interact with sharks to be able to understand them. And there are so many amazing ways to do so. Examples are through internship programs, such as ones offered by Shark Life, or through diving with centers, such as Aquaplanet.
We really need to nurture shark conservation ambassadors so that they can spread the word from a place of experience. So the internships really, they're designed to take people through quite an intensive hands-on training experience.
Well, probably first get into the water to understand. You cannot just watch videos and believe people. You have to actually be there and have the experience, and then from that experience form your own opinion, and then if you get that passion, then go forward and try and protect them. But there's very few people that have dived with sharks and said they don't want to do it again. Or you cannot dive with sharks and not be changed. And when they dive with sharks and they interact, and the first few minutes I think they're a bit nervous, and then they realize that the sharks aren't going to do anything, and then it becomes an addiction. Then you just have this huge passion for sharks, and you just want to dive with it, want to protect it, want to look after them, want to see them in the future.
I believe that we are in bigger trouble than we realize, and I hope we are not too late. There is an urgent need to act. With the growing population, we must nurture and cultivate, not destroy. I believe that we can make a difference by changing the perception society has of sharks. Most of what I have learned about sharks comes from first-hand experiences with them underwater. I have seen their intelligence and beauty, and their shy behavior. I know for sure that they are not monsters, and I have nothing to fear. Because as Kim says, you cannot dive with sharks and not be changed.